Hi y'all, what's going on? You're back with another video, another review of season 1, episode 2 of Creatures of Detroit. Detroit is my home. I'm not gonna get into nothing of this video of this episode, but the powwow and what happened afterwards is what I'm gonna touch on, and basically the whole thing, because most of the episodes is turned back into meeting and getting to the lives of the preachers deeper, which we already got a quick synopsis of that on the first episode. So that being said, we're gonna get into the powwow and we're gonna discuss the situation between Pastor Bullock and Bishop-elect Clarence Langston. And y'all, this is gonna be another video of me getting Pastor Bullock together, because he's now on my last nerve. But we're gonna get into it when we get into that. Disclaimer: remember, this is my channel. I am a youth pastor and I'm a spiritual leader. This is not the platform for you to come to my channel with this discussion of ministry and spiritual leaders in general. The Bible does say, touch not my anointed, do not do my prophet no harm. With that being said, do not come. This is not the platform to come to my channel to display your evil, antic, say anything disrespectful or ignorant to or about these spiritual leaders, whether being bishop, evangelist, pastor, bishop, whatever. If you have an opinion, then put that opinion, but it needs to be stated with facts and needs to be respectful. This is a channel where you can quote and say a spade is a spade, meaning calling it out as it is. But it's one thing to quote it being respectfully, and it's another thing to quote it being disrespectful, and especially not quoting it with facts. So with that being said, we are a family at this channel, so let's get into this review. We're going to get into this powwow at Bishop Ellis' house. Now everybody joins in at the powwow. My thing is, with this powwow it was supposed to be some unified discussion about what's going on in Detroit. Of course, with Pastor Bullock being so passionate about that, and which I respect. But my problem is with Bullock again, is his mouth, his demeanor, and his spirit. He walks into every situation being disrespectful and overbearing, and I just wish, because now that Dietrich Hatton is not going to be on this episode, any other episodes, there's not anyone there who can get him and his attitude together. I wish I was from Detroit for this season, because I wish they would do a Preachers of Houston, and I'm in there, and I have a person like Pastor Bullock, because we will always have it in for each other. We would never disagree, because I do not want anybody in my presence with that type of demeanor. And like I said, when Bishop-elect Clarence came for him in that discussion, I'm like, Bishop, I'm going to need you to come harder for that situation, because he needs to be brought down into humility, because he comes in as disrespectful. How are you going to come to somebody's house and try to overbear them in that conversation? Talking about, I'm going to call them out, I'm going to do this. I see why you got a little church on the prairie on the hill with barely no members. I see why, because I do not ever want to be over. And Pastor Bullock, you need prayer. You need Jesus. You need some anointed oil, because I cannot seem to deal with your arrogance. That is not of God at all. But you want to come and try to tell somebody else what they're not doing. You get mad because they driving in Bentleys and got a nice house, and you living probably in the burnt down shack house where you at. What you driving? What kind of job you got? You can't get mad at these people because they successful. Have you ever thought about that they're fulfilling and walking in the will of God? Have you ever thought about that? Have you ever thought about them doing what thus said the Lord and following the Bible? Have you thought about that? But you're getting mad because they can drive. If they can afford a Bentley, then hell, I'm going to drive a Bentley if I can afford it. So you're going to be mad at that? I'm not grasping. I cannot get into your arrogance. I cannot get into your spirit. Nor can I cannot detect it, and I can't detect nothing sincere or authentic about you at all. All I can do is just respect what you're doing. And let me get to you right quick again. You're claiming you're doing all this and all that, but nobody was at that rally. And nobody was at the little small thing we walk around the neighborhood. You're doing all this press conference, you're doing all this radio personality stuff, but you're talking about this and that, but there's no change. I haven't seen no progress in Detroit. Because you're talking about something, but at the end of the day, you're grasping and doing all of this, but you're doing more than the people who live in Detroit are doing. Because the only people that was at that rally that you gave were people who was in Senate or being elected. So you get mad because they're living a successful life, but at the end of the day, those Senate and those people in power and government that are in Detroit, those taxpayers are paying them. But you're on the preacher's tail. No, you need to be on the Senate's tail, because at the end of the day, not everybody is called to do what you're doing. That's one thing you like to mention. And another thing you like to mention was I haven't heard you mention anything about the Senate or the government, who the taxpayers of Detroit money is going to. You didn't mention none of the police, no government, no Senate, no state Senate, no mayors, no nothing. But that's not their calling, that's not their trail. So if they do not want to do it, nor is it the season for them to do it, then they're not going to do it. Which again, you mentioned to that. And another thing you're mentioning and you're not doing and you're ignorant to is the calling, spiritual facts, and everything else. You're being very ignorant to. I don't even have the energy to keep even talking about you right now. Really, I really don't. Because even let's get to after the powwow, even discussing Bishop Pauletta Vaughn. Girl, ma'am, I don't know what else to say about your storyline either. But everybody's not going to agree with you. And you should know, doggone well, that any bishop, any pastor, any minister under Church of God in Christ is not going to agree with you being a bishop. So I don't even know why you even asked that man that question. You should already know that. You should already know that nobody is going to agree with that, because not everybody is up on that. Most of the people are still stuck in law. So, with that being said, I wish you would stop talking about it and stop complaining about it, because like you said, nobody's up to it and nobody's going to believe you. So, why keep talking about it? Do what you do. If you are called to be a bishop, then be a bishop. And forget about everybody else's opinion. I'm done with you. Let's get to this discussion between Bishop-elect Clarence Langston and Pastor Bullock. Bullock, again, I wish I was from Detroit for just 1 minute, and I wish I was a preachers of Detroit, because I promise you, with every spirit in my body, you would not be nowhere in my presence, speaking the way you do, acting the way you do, and presiding the way you do. Because every time you would step overboard and step out of line and out of boundary, I will be there to put you back. Because there is no way you will be in my house and in my presence, taking away my accolades and get mad because I'm able to drive a Bentley and you pulled up in what? They didn't even show what you pulled up in. Obviously, it must not be standard. We haven't seen your house. Obviously, it must not be up standard. We've seen your church. But let me get on you again. You're talking about what they drive, but look at the way you dress. Those bow ties are expensive. Those velvet coats you're wearing, those are expensive. So while we're talking about expenses and what the bishop is driving and what they're driving and how they're acting, let's talk about you. You're very disrespectful. And I can see why your ministry is where it's at. And I can see why your attitude is where it's at, because you lack respect, you lack standards, and you're very, very ignorant. Very ignorant. I want to know who is over you, where you come from, who's your spiritually, who taught you. And I can see why you have no wife. I can see why basically you really have no life. There's no boundaries where you are. There's no stability at all. So I can see why you can act and lash out because you're lacking. Everybody where you are, even Bishop Clarella, even though her marriage is in shambles, she's the most stabilized thing you are. You mad because everybody is at a life where they're comfortable. They have their life, their children. You have nothing to even fall back on. I can see why you act the way you do. And really, it's a cry out for help and it's a cry out for attention because you don't have it. You sat there and saying, well, you don't even live in Detroit and nobody knows you. Nobody know you either. Because I didn't even know you until this show started and still don't know you. All I know you very ignorant and disrespectful and you have a very condemning spirit. Like I said, if I ever run across you in path, I hope you're not what you are in television because we would not have a pleasant conversation. Because every time I would see you, I would just throw all on you. I really would. I wouldn't even get to the point where I even do that because you wouldn't even be in my presence. Nor would I be in yours. Because we would never ever have to even interact with that because I would not entertain nothing you're bringing. At all. But with that being said, this has been your season 1, episode 2. Detroit is my home review. I just had to come here and put my thoughts here on that last scene pissed me off so much. But Bishop-elect Clarence, you handled yourself in a very respectful manner. We see why you are a bishop, and we see why he is where he at, and why he's what he is, why his ministry isn't growing, why I can see why. I really can see why, and I can see through ministers and pastors just like him. He's ready to throw slugs. He's ready to condemn others, but we can look at the fact that you're not married, and we do not want to go on biblical standards about that, shall we? But anyway, we're not gonna get on that. Like, comment, subscribe. Friendly in the comments. Follow me on all social media accounts. I will see you again next week. Like, comment, subscribe. This has been Jay, Appreciable TV. You've passed J.DAREL. Peace.